Hello and welcome to Post, the channel where we discuss all things hockey and all teams. Another series bites the dust.
Boom, boom, boom.
And this one happened in dramatic fashion, in double overtime.
Double overtime.
I watched it live. You did not.
I watched some of it live, but the good parts.
The good parts.
Whew.
So,
Man.
okay. We'll talk about the series as a whole, but let's just discuss that last game real
Unreal.
quickly, because it is fresh in our minds. It just happened last night as we're filming this. What did you think of that performance by Dallas?
They didn't have it. They didn't have what they needed to have against a team that was possessed. St. Louis was possessed.
They were possessed.
And Dallas didn't know what to do.
Do you think it was emotional or physical? Most of the time when I see teams play poorly, I think it's emotional. I really think it was physical for Dallas. They looked tired. Jamie Benn looked tired. He was literally leaning over the bench trying to catch his breath.
And Bishop himself.
Yes.
There were times when he was like that time he was down on all fours. After the play was going down the ice, he was just down on all fours. I think that was in the first overtime. They looked like a beaten team. But they've been playing the other team who've been working and playing every single the same night as them. Yeah. So what's with that?
I think they even looked tired in the previous game as well, Game 6.
Mm-hmm.
I thought they didn't look as tired, but they looked tired. And, you know, Dallas had two opportunities to win that series.
They did.
Game 6 and Game 7, and they lost them both. So, number one, kudos to St. Louis for showing some resiliency, again, in a series, and proving that they have what it takes, and they have what it takes to lead a series, and they have what it takes to come back in a series. And those are two very important things. So,
huge, yeah.
Really, I have a lot of positive things to say about the St. Louis team. And but at times, St. Louis looked a little questionable. So, which St. Louis team are we going to get in round 3?
They were playing high-risk hockey last night. High-risk hockey. They were playing like a team that was a goal down and needed to open things up. And I think in the first overtime, it was great because they have the long change, but when you're in the offensive zone, it's your short change.
Yeah.
And you can change your guys, and if you can keep Dallas hemmed in their zone, they can't make that long change. But your bench is right close to where you are, and you can keep making that short change, and you can pile it on, and that's what they did for most of that period.
Absolutely.
It was just wave after wave of attack, and all Dallas could do whenever they got the puck was maybe get down the ice with a couple of tired guys and get a weak shot on goal, and then go for a change. And then St. Louis is back in again, hammering away. It's a shock that it went to double overtime because St. Louis was just everywhere. At the end of the third period, at the end of regulation, St. Louis was out shooting Dallas 41-17.
At one point, it was 55-22.
That's just outrageous. It's outrageous.
It's amazing. There's only one reason that game went to double overtime.
Bishop.
Or overtime in general. Ben Bishop.
Ben Bishop. He was amazing.
He was unbelievable, and I really feel bad for him.
I do too.
If you watched the same broadcast that we watched, you would have saw his mother in the stands.
Oh, she was
stressing out and likely on the verge of a heart attack, unfortunately. But
every play she was, and I've been a hockey parent. Your mom's been a hockey mom for years, and the kids don't realize it when they're out playing and they're 8 years old. But your parents are up in the stands. And they're living and dying on every stride of your skates. Like it's insane in a way that parents are so involved and so being carried onto the ice and so part of this, but they are. And someday maybe you'll see that yourself. It's crazy. And now when you're whatever age that Ben Bishop's mother would be, 50s, I suppose, and he's a millionaire and he's playing to try to get into the Western Conference Finals, it's no different. That's your child out there. Mm. And the poor thing.
And it's not biased cheering. It's like well-deserved cheering for Ben Bishop because he deserves to be in the conference finals and probably the Stanley Cup finals. He's been fantastic all year. He probably should win the Vezina, in my opinion, based on his performance and his numbers. If you haven't seen his numbers, go look at his seasonal numbers. They're fantastic. So I really feel bad about Ben Bishop not being able to move on. But as tired as Dallas did look, as disappointing as I am to see them lose, and I am disappointed, Dallas has taken some important strides this year, both defensively and offensively. I think it's a good indication of what they need to fix moving forward. They need to bring in some players. They might need to send out a few players. One player who I thought was a huge difference maker for Dallas outside of Ben Bishop was Klingberg. I don't know if I've seen patience like that from any other defenseman in these playoffs. He has been the best defenseman in the playoffs as far as I'm concerned. Mm-hmm. And it's not just about the physicality and the offense. It's about, I really don't like this term, but his hockey IQ. Yeah. Like, in the patience, he'll have the puck, and a lot of guys will turn around and protect the puck with their back. Yager used to be really good at that.
Yeah, that great big butt.
Klingberg doesn't. Yeah, hockey butt.
Yeah.
Klingberg doesn't do that. He's so smart with the puck, and he's so confident with his stick handling that he can maintain the puck. Like, the guy will come within this far of the puck from him, and he won't move. It's like he knows that the player is just kind of trying to bait him into turning around or whatever. But see, he's so good at it. So that was good to see as a Dallas. I was cheering for Dallas, and we see one of their players show some skill like that. That was pretty awesome. So it doesn't mean that I was really cheering against for St. Louis, because I really like St. Louis as well. So it's a tough series for me to cheer against. But I did predict St. Louis to win this series and move on to the conference finals. When we did our bracket predictions before the playoffs, I had San Jose and St. Louis in the conference finals. As we're filming this, it's still possible.
Still possible.
Game 7 is tonight against Colorado and San Jose, so fingers crossed that my prediction is right in the West, because I need something to bring me up, because my East is toast. My East is gone so long ago.
Your East is golfing right now.
Yeah, very golfing, yeah. And
Mine
last year it was the total opposite.
Yeah.
I got the East completely right, and the West was just an absolute garbage fest. So it's weird how that works, but this series, I would say, that last game was pretty one-sided. But from a hockey perspective, the rest of the series, it was pretty decent hockey.
It was decent hockey. The first game was 3-2 St. Louis, then 4-2 Dallas, 4-3 St. Louis, 4-2 Dallas, 2-1 Dallas in Game 5, giving them the 3-2 lead and the chance to close it out at home in Game 6, and they failed to do it. And they lost 4-1. It was a very poor performance. And I think that was it. I think that was the writing on the wall. I think that took the air out of
I think so, too. And I think one thing can be said, both of these arenas were loud.
Yeah.
American Airlines Center in Dallas and what's it called? Enterprise Pick Me Up Arena. Anyways, both arenas were super, super loud. Great atmospheres in both arenas. I loved watching. Like, it didn't matter where the game was in the series. It was going to be a good viewing experience as a fan. So definitely some positive things to say about the fans in Dallas and the fans in St. Louis. So
yeah. The fans in St. Louis got ripped off a little bit because they paid probably a lot of money for those seats, and a lot of the fans, from what I could see, weren't using them. They were standing up the whole time.
There's a specific section of that arena.
They just never sat down.
On the camera side to the left, they're always standing, and it's in every game, and I don't understand it.
I wouldn't want to be the guy in row 3.
No, I'd lose my, you know what?
Yeah.
Anyway,
did you hear about the station Y98?
I have not.
The station's call letters, interestingly, are KYKY, 98.1 FM. They played that Laura Branigan song, Gloria. They said if St. Louis won Game 7, they would play that song for 24 hours straight. And they are playing it right now, 24 hours straight, and people are listening.
That's awesome.
And filming themselves on Instagram doing dances to it, and it's just, and they say if St. Louis goes to the final, they will play it constantly, day after day after day.
As long as they're in the playoffs?
Yeah.
See, there's things like that that people kind of get on board with, and they think that itself is a bit of a story that gets recognized outside of St. Louis.
Yeah. And outside of hockey.
There was a story out of St. Louis. This is completely off topic, so I do apologize. We like to get off topic on this channel.
It's what we do.
There was a story out of St. Louis, and it was about food. I can't remember what it was. It was about the way that they eat their bagels or something, or the way they cut their bagels differently in St. Louis.
Okay.
Or something. They cut them in sections, or I can't remember what it was, but And apparently it only happens in St. Louis, and everyone else thinks it's weird. And I don't know. I don't remember if I think it's weird. I can't remember what it was, but
All right.
anyways, someone will comment and tell me what it was. But yeah,
Well, it was something to watch. I didn't watch it live, but I watched it essentially in real time in the time machine this morning when I get up early. And that first overtime period, even really the last 10 minutes of the third period and the first overtime, the second, maybe the last 5 minutes of the first overtime, Dallas started to stand up a little bit and handle some of that incredible speed that St. Louis was pouring onto them. And I even think the second overtime was a little more balanced. Dallas had some scoring chances. Bennington had to get his job done, too.
he played well.
He played well.
And I mean, not to interrupt, but
Yeah.
Dallas almost scored in the overtime.
Oh.
Which is that Jamie Benn wraparound.
Yes,
Like, that could have been a goal. We could have been having a different conversation here.
completely.
So it's not like it wasn't close. I mean, Dallas, even though they get outplayed that game, they almost won the series.
They almost won the series. And when you see Bishop playing as well as he was, turning aside 50, 52, 55 pucks, plural, because that's a lot of pucks out there.
A lot of fucks.
But when he's doing that kind of work, you almost expect that it has a payoff.
Exactly, yeah.
And in this case, it didn't, but it easily could have. There was like Bennington getting over to the post. And, well, that wraparound, actually, Bennington didn't even get to it. It hit the post and bounced
Yeah, when we
out.
crossed the line, basically.
Yeah. Whew. Holy smokes. But the winning goal was tremendous.
It was. It was by a very important player, too.
A hugely important player.
Patrick Maroon, who I believe is from St. Louis.
From St. Louis.
His son was in the audience.
His son was in the audience, 10-year-old Alexander Anthony. Starts with an A. And the kid was crying. He was bawling his eyes out. And he couldn't even watch the game. He was actually like looking down at a piece of paper or something because he was too worked up.
Yeah, he was looking at
Stats or something.
He was looking at the players in their hometowns to see where they were from or something like that.
Yeah.
And then they scored, and someone's like, "Your dad scored. Your dad scored." So
And
that's
that
what
was one
happened.
of the girlfriends. He was sitting with family. Patrick Maroon's fiance was with the kid, and actually he had a seat beside her, but then the owner of the seat came back, one of the other hockey wives or girlfriends. So he was sitting on her lap looking at the paper, and then the goal happened. And it was, what a moment. What a moment. It was a fantastic moment. Yeah. And here's something else. Ben Bishop is essentially called St. Louis's hometown, too.
Yes, absolutely.
He was born in Denver, but he spent most of his young life in St. Louis. He played high school hockey and earlier there before going on to the University of Maine, the Black Bears.
Yeah, and I think he even played.
He played for the St. Louis Young Blues or whatever.
Yeah, but
in the Quebec Pee Wee tournament.
No, but I think he played back there in the USHL or something like that. Or
I think you're thinking of a different fellow. I think, but. Because Ben Bishop, he played, of course,
maybe.
Ottawa. And
Is Peoria near?
Peoria's in Illinois, so.
Anyways.
Anyway, but to have two St. Louis, this is what you would consider, until 1968 or 67, a non-hockey market town. And that's not that long ago. That's only a little more than 50 years ago.
Time is relative.
Yeah, well, yeah. For me, it's not that long ago. But when you have the two key players in that game, the one who scored the winning goal and the guy he scored it on, are basically natives of that town, this non-traditional hockey town in the United States, I think that's a fantastic story for hockey. I think St. Louis has the highest percentage of Canadian players of any team that's left in the playoffs.
I think Don Cherry mentioned that in the first round.
I think he did. And Don's always looking for that.
He is,
that
he's
stat.
obsessed with it.
He's obsessed with how many Canadians are on every team. But St. Louis's American players, in this case Maroon, who's kicked around the league. This guy's in his early 30s. He's played a lot of AHL hockey and below and really had to work hard to get any chances. And he's so appreciative of his chance.
Absolutely. And I really like Maroon.
I really do, too. I think it's a wonderful outcome for last night.
Yep.
Fantastic.
It was. I mean, the right team won. I was cheering for Dallas, but realistically, based on last night's game, the right team won. St. Louis deserved to win. Dallas did not. So we have St. Louis moving on, and they will play. We don't know yet. as we're
Whoever.
filming this. So they'll either play Colorado or they'll play San Jose. I don't know who they'd rather play. I feel like they'd rather play Colorado.
I would think so.
But San Jose is kind of so inconsistent sometimes that you almost want to play San Jose, but in the same respect, no one is scarier offensively than San Jose. So do you really want to put Bennington through that?
I'd have different minds of this. I'd want to play Colorado because the travel's going to be a bit easier. You're maybe 2 hours or more or less per flight across the country.
That
you got to
is
make
true.
a couple of those flights. The downside of playing Colorado is you're going to play at altitude.
That is also true.
So
You're going from literally sea level.
to 5,000 and some feet.
St. Louis is pretty flat, right?
Oh, yeah, it's quite flat.
Basically sea level.
I wouldn't say sea level. It's probably 1,000 feet up, but
Okay.
because it's pretty high there in the Mississippi.
Yeah, okay.
But still, you're playing at roughly sea level as far as oxygen content and all that. So
Yeah.
But playing San Jose, I think, it would be tougher overall. I think if I was St. Louis, I'd rather play Colorado. And I think they know each other better.
Yeah, I think you're probably right there. They definitely have more of a history than San Jose, St. Louis. I don't know if there's any history. I don't know if they've ever faced each other in the.
I don't know that they have.
If they have, I honestly don't remember. I should look into that. I don't know.
I think St. Louis actually did beat San Jose in the playoffs maybe 10 or 15 years ago. I think they did play, and St. Louis won that series. I think to go to the conference final. So
I wonder if that was in 2010.
I don't know.
Anyway,
We'll figure it out.
look that up
It's
later.
going to be great hockey.
Yeah, I'm excited to see St. Louis. I mean, they honestly love what Washington did last year. They never won a Stanley Cup. I think they entered the league at around the same time in the 70s?
St. Louis?
60s?
67 was St.
Washington
Louis.
entered in
Washington entered into the
70s?
It was in the 70s. I would say maybe 74, 75.
So they've been around for a long time.
Oh, yeah.
Washington got it done last year.
Yeah.
St. Louis can get it done this year.
And St. Louis has been to the finals a couple of times,
They have, and
although it wasn't really fair.
when this channel first started, when Washington was losing to Pittsburgh all the time, we used to say on this channel quite a bit that St. Louis is the Washington of the West. Like, St. Louis is the version of the team that's always been really good seasonally. Sometimes they go to the second round, third round in the playoffs, but they never make it to the big dance, and if they do, they can never win. Washington was the exact same way, and they got it done last year. So is this the year for St. Louis? Can they look and see what Washington did last year and say, if they can do it, we can do it?
It would be a great story. And St. Louis has more to do. They have more gas in the tank that they can expend, I think, because I don't think we've seen a full-blown Tarasenko yet.
I agree with that.
And I think that if he can catch on here and be the elite player he needs to be, St. Louis has another gear that they can find.
Yep. And they don't look done.
No.
Like, didn't Dallas look done?
Yeah,
they look done.
They look done like dinner.
St. Louis looked like game one, round one.
Yeah.
Last night.
Let's go.
So yeah, let's go. So let's go.
The relentlessness, the forecheck, they were just all over them. It was so exciting to watch.
It was delightful.
It really was. The incredible speed back and forth, but mostly forth into the Dallas end, and they were playing like they were possessed. They were playing like crazy people.
Go right back to the first sentence of this video.
They really were.
They were possessed.
They were possessed. There was something in them. It was almost frightening. If they play like that, I wouldn't bet against them.
Mika said last night, I think, that someone roofied the Dallas spaghetti or something. The pregame spaghetti or the pregame pasta. Maybe that was the truth because they looked pretty slow with there. So
Well, I think St. Louis had several shots at Tim Hortons coffee before they played.
maybe.
It
All
was
right.
incredible.
Thanks for the analysis of this series, and we didn't really go that into depth, but looking forward to the series upcoming. Looking forward to the game tonight to figure out who they're going to play, and obviously you guys already know who it is by now, and we don't, so we will by the time that you watch this. But anyways, thanks for watching. Appreciate it. If you're not subscribed, hope you can hit the subscribe button, and we will see you in the next video. Adios.